All right. So the first thing I thought was this guy took a page right out of the Kickass UX playbook, writing a case study about something he's deeply, intimately familiar with. I really like that. Get rid of the word branding here. I can look at this and be like, Chris is really good at branding. You know, I don't have to see branding really big up there, you know? So what's important is the insights. Like, what did you get out of it? And how does that influence the next decision that you were going to make? As a hiring manager looking for a visual designer, it would probably speak to them. But the question I have is, who is this speaking to? And is that good for you?
So first, we'll normally turn this over right to you, Jeremy, but I just want to say cheers because I double checked. And while that pink for self-starter is accessible at larger text sizes, for contact, that looks like a tab. That's actually a button.
Oh no, I didn't even check that. Yeah.
Come on now, dog.
Okay, cheers. All right.
Thank you, Chris.
All right.
A little extra tea.
So you guys, first off, I just want to say overall, beautiful website. I mean, it's clear this guy has a background in graphic design or visual design of some kind. I really dig his logo mark, and the icon I assume looks like kind of like a palm tree. It's it speaks to a lot of the stuff. I feel like looking at his about section, the surfing and the adventure sports and all that stuff, it tells me a lot about his personality just from looking at that, which I think is really, really cool. Thinking about the portfolio piece itself, visually, it's very striking. The only thing I would say on the work page, one of the things that kind of confused me for a second was it actually links to his homepage, and then there's like that little mock-up at the top, which looked to me almost like a case study, and I click on contact, and I'm like, wait a second, hold on, this is not where I thought I was going to go. So I would probably say, just like from an architecture perspective, you know, obviously visually it's very appealing, but that piece confused me. I would put work on a separate page probably and get rid
so
of
what he's talking about, Ludovic,
and go straight to
the top. Sorry to override you, but yeah, the fact that work, that's what he's talking about is work. The link is just the equivalent of home.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so, yeah, when I look at this, I see the mock-up and I'm like, oh, that must be a case study. Again, thinking about affordances and things we see on websites all the time. Mm-hmm. I see that and I see a link. I'm like, oh, click on it. I'm like, wait, hold on. But the recent work doesn't actually start until a little bit further down. But that was just something that kind of stood out at me a little bit at first before I even got to the case study. I don't know. You guys have any thoughts about that? But
well, actually, on the same subject of buttons, I don't know if you guys noticed, but when you go down to coming soon, which is a hover interaction, which makes me want to click, it actually is a refresh of the page and brings me back to the top. So first of all, it's interactive, like there is a hover interaction when there shouldn't be one. Mm-hmm. And the second action is completely it's not what I expect. I expect to at least enter a page that's going to show me, here is the key insights of that project, more coming soon, at least more information, right? But not sending me back to the top of the homepage. So yeah, I think, Chris, like between the work link that just refreshes the page instead of being an anchor link that just sends you down there and scrolls the page down, there is also an issue with those coming soon buttons. Both of them actually have the same behavior. So definitely fix that one out.
Yeah, and as a reminder, Chris, those things are not accessible. So you'll need to change your pink slightly. Either you have to darken it or something, or you can just change the text to be black. I'm sure that would actually make it accessible. But right now it is not.
Probably up the font size a little bit, maybe too, on the buttons. Yeah. The button sizing is, for me, and this is a visual thing, I don't know, which is a little bit more subjective. But for me, the button text on that giant button's a little small. I feel like you could make the font size like maybe 16 point. I don't know what it is now, maybe 14. I don't know. You could probably beef those buttons up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Perhaps, and that might improve the accessibility.
You know, the one thing I really want to make sure that we touch on is you go to the top, Ludovic. The biggest piece of feedback I think that I have for Chris is it's unclear what he's after. I think you're absolutely right, Jeremy, that like you can tell this guy has a good amount of experience with like the creative side of things, and he has that flair. You can tell that. There are definitely like things to tweak on this page that I think would make it look better. Like, for example, left aligning instead of center aligning below would be something that I'd recommend. Like in that section, left aligning that stuff. I think that would look a lot better.
Similar to the top,
Yeah, exactly. And then also like either beefing up the button or making it smaller to fit the size of the text. Again, like smaller tweaks that wouldn't take that much. But at the very top, he says research, branding, UX design. The thing about that is like those are three separate roles. And like
very different
to say that, very different. And to say that you are good in all those, don't get me wrong, I'm sure he's great. Like according to the branding that I'm seeing here, like I can tell he has some experience with that, and I'm sure he has experience with the others. But like if a hiring manager is coming to this page, it's going to be unclear what they're hiring him for, and they're going to then start doubting his ability in the one that he's trying to land a job in, because like it's hard for us to believe that someone's going to be excellent at all those things, even if he is. It's just the way of things. And so I would say be very clear about that, Chris, is like, hey, I am a UX designer who helps these companies do these things. And it sounds like kind of in like the active sports realm, like that's the area you'd want to be in, is kind of like the surf skate realm, which is awesome. Like I think that's super cool that you have like a niche that you are like stoked about. And I like the way that you talk about yourself. I think that's awesome. Like from what I was reading here, I really enjoy that, and I want to see that personality keep coming. And I know that I will. It's just I think that part is going to harm you more than anything, is making it really unclear what you're after.
I was just sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Victoria. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just thinking like I like the topography here, but I was just picturing in my head, each piece of portfolio item could have, UX design, research, branding up at the top somehow, but then highlight the word of the piece that you're trying to highlight the work you did, right? So like maybe there's a research portfolio piece and you highlight research. Maybe there's a branding portfolio item and you highlight branding or something. And you could use that to reinforce the work that you're going to see below. So I do know what I'm looking for. That to me also would be something I would love to see on an about page maybe. The homepage, like you said, it is confusing. Like, well, what are you trying to go for? Are you going for a branding job? That has nothing to do with research and UX. So like, am I going to hire you for that? I don't know. It's kind of confusing as a hiring manager. I think this is something you guys have talked about. Other people have talked about. Know your audience. Who are you trying to sell this to? And what are they looking for? And if you are going for a specific job, try to tailor that portfolio to that job that you're going for, as opposed to like the spray and pray kind of, I'm going to put everything on there and hope something sticks.
Yep.
Yeah, so I love that you call that out.
Big time. And like this H1, like you said, Colton, is confusing because it's like, well, which should we believe you have the most experience in? We don't know, right? Is it research? Is it UX design? Is it branding? But then the H2, which is veteran bartender, action sports freak, self-starter. This again, like this is great. I love the personality and the vibe behind that. He chooses very interesting words like action sports freak. It's not just like it's not boring. We get a sense of his personality, but again, so here up top we don't know exactly specialty, and then below the next most important thing is that he tells us all kind of different things that just give us a glance as personality, but not him as a designer. And so I'm not clear here. I'm still not clear here except his personality. So I think that you just need Chris to reverse the hierarchy and say, okay, so what is the most important thing that I want my audience to take away, and make that big. And then maybe that personality piece that you still want to showcase it maybe like more in your paragraph text, right? Because then you already do a good job at it, like right here, right? Inspired by classic surf, skate brands. It feels like, there is so much to you as a person, and I want to see that, but maybe not as an H1 or an H2, right? Tell us who you are as a designer. Yeah,
and the other thing I was thinking too is if that paragraph is about you, right, to the right, why is there a mock-up of an app you designed? Like, why isn't there a picture of you there? Like those pictures on his about page, a lot of really awesome photos there.
Yeah.
That to me, I would maybe, and that's again where I feel like the header here feels more like an about page than maybe a home page. Where I want to get in the meat and the potatoes of whatever it is I'm here to sell.
Yeah.
You're not selling yourself, right? You're selling the skills because you're trying to get a job. If this is just a personal website that you're just like you have because you want to sell yourself as like an influencer or something, right? This may be a homepage, but think about the whole point. Like, why are you building this, and what is the goal, and is this an effective way to reach that goal? So anyway, kind of think about that, because I feel like this is a great about page. I don't know. To me, it's just sort of weird. I don't know what I'm looking at. Like when I get here, I'm like, well, what am I hiring you for?
Yeah. One last thing. I know that we're over time, but just one last thing. It'll take 15 seconds. Scroll to the very bottom, Ludovic. Like what should be on your homepage if you're looking for UX jobs are UX case studies. And this freelance graphic design makes it seem like you're after a graphic design job. And so like, don't get me wrong, it looks great. Like this looks like something I'd see on a modern website. I'm not doubting the visual skills. What I am doubting is what are you looking? It leaves me with more questions than answers. And this sort of thing I'd put on a completely separate page on your website, talking about freelance graphic design or just graphic design or whatever else, like previous work, something like that it's completely separate. So anyway, with all that out of the way, Jeremy, what would you give this homepage a rating.
What is it? Is it out of 5? 5 stars?
Out of 5, yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm. I would give it a 3, to be honest, and not because it isn't visually striking. It's because it isn't effective. I think there's elements there that need to be improved. I think it's a great foundation for a really awesome homepage. With a little bit of tweaking, you could probably make this way more effective. I'm going to give it a 3, maybe 3.5 stars, like on its way to 4. But yeah, I feel like it needs more attention to the copy and the content more than the visual piece.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for the same good to solid, just because of the fact that his personality is such a 5-star that it wheels me back in. If his personality didn't show up here, it would actually be more like either a 1 or a 2 stars, actually, because it's not clear. But it's so amazing that we have a clear sense of, okay, this dude is not boring. I want to talk to him, even though he's not clear. I almost want to talk to him, and that's it, right?
Yep.
So 3 to 4, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with both of you on that. I would say 3 for me, so a good, and it's because it's unclear. But 100% about personality. Like, that's what makes you interested in Chris, because of all the stuff that you see. Like, I don't think it would take that much to take this from a 3 to a 5. It really wouldn't take that much. You're just some visual tweaks, fixing the contrast issues, fixing the alignment issues, and then like removing the things that aren't related to UX or whatever role he's going for. Like, that's really the main things.
One other thing too, I just had a thought is, like, he's got branding really big. Like, hey, look at me, I'm really good at branding. You could get rid of the word branding here, to be honest. And like, I can look at this and be like, Chris is really good at branding. I don't have to see branding really big up there. So unless again, that's maybe a job I'm trying to go for. It's totally different. But especially UX design, I feel like the branding piece is probably something like you let the page speak for itself, which it does. And that might be one of the only things it does really well here, unfortunately. But I don't know. That's my kind of take on that. Is like I get the branding piece totally.
100% with you.
I don't need to see the big word.
And also, it's backed up by the fact that he's currently a creative director. Like, he's going to have
exactly. Yeah,
so
sure, of course.
Cool. Well, then let's hop into our first palate cleanser. So it's time for a question for you. So, what advice would you give to someone on their portfolio if you did not want them to get a job?
If I didn't want them to get a job?
Yeah.
Oh man. If I didn't want them to get a job, I would. If I didn't want them on their portfolio, I would just say, don't do anything. Don't even try. That might be. I don't know if that's a good answer. If you're looking to like edit something, I would put. Oh man, I don't know. That's a great question.
What do you mean by doing nothing, like a blank page? Like
I mean, like
minimalist
not try, not try. Like putting no effort into it, right? Like not doing anything, not doing any work, not trying, not getting feedback. Not sending it to someone, not selling yourself, not promoting yourself, like just doing nothing. You know what I mean? Like as if it doesn't exist at all. I don't know if that's the right answer to that. But,
it's an answer.
If you're talking about like just doing the just like editing. Yeah, exactly. Not putting any effort into it.
Boring.
And I think again, what's funny is like I think about the portfolio. It's just a tool. Like it's never going to get you a job on its own. It's how you use the tool that gets the job. So if you just did nothing and put no effort, you're not going to get a job. So I mean that's kind of where I'm thinking about this too. Is just like not using it. I think that might be the better answer. Is just not using it is how you don't get the job. I don't know if that makes sense.
Let's go with that.
It's a bizarre answer, I guess. I don't know.
Let's hop into the About page. Ludovic, why don't you throw 2 minutes back on the clock? And
let's go.
A few moments later.
All right. Yeah. So I feel like the homepage had a lot of like movement and big type and all kinds of like big bold images, mostly probably because of the case study. I felt like the top part especially just felt a little flat. I like there's a lot of text there. There's a lot of things like, I can open the past lives thing and look at it. I'd love to see links there, like 2 years running a Wake Serve lifestyle brand. What was the brand? Can you put a logo there? Is there a link to it? Can I look at it? National Championship Boxer, like a link to something, like, is there a video of you boxing or something? Like you got some photos down there, but, I don't know. I felt like that kind of accordion could probably be improved a little bit. I don't even know that needs to be an accordion, to be honest. It's I could see that being like cards or something, and then the other thing, the photos are cool. I like the photos. I think those are great. Maybe open them in a bigger window just so I could see them. I don't know if that really matters. But that big block of color, when I got there, I actually thought that was the end. I thought that was the footer because it looks so much like a footer, like a big giant hero footer kind of thing.
Yeah, the favorites.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was like, that almost looked like a footer to me. Maybe like if you had a background image like with a blue overlay or something on top, and maybe just because it looks like a footer to me. I almost stopped there, and then I didn't scroll down until I realized I'm like, oh wait, because especially like on Apple computers, you don't see the scroll bar, so like you might not even know you're supposed to scroll. So I would maybe do something with that. Like I don't know. That's kind of my thought. It almost like struck me as like a footer, almost. I don't know. I went a little more oomph. Like I expected more on the about page, to be honest, from what I saw on the homepage.
Interesting.
Like, what are your thoughts?
Okay.
Like visually speaking, I don't know.
Visually speaking, okay. Yeah, not from a UX writing standpoint, because from a UX writing standpoint, I mean, it is funny as hell. I think that, again, like it connects back to what we were saying before, which is Chris has a lot of personality and you can clearly say it. I mean, bartender, right? Specializing in high volume drink. Right. I mean, this guy is funny. Or musician, right? Unsuccessful SoundCloud career. There are so many things where I'm like, I'm just laughing. I just wanna almost like have a beer with this guy on a surfboard. I just can picture it, right? Which is amazing, making us visualize this thing. I think that's his writing is good, and overall, again, like great vibe. I got a good sense of who he is as a person and how it actually ties back to UX. So he studied computer science and discovered UXD, and so it's kind of a fun, well done mix of personality up front. How is relating back that to that UX career? How did it even get started? Because he has a lot of past lives. The thing that I would say that I totally agree with you on Jeremy is like, I don't want to hide these things because these descriptions are just so hilarious. I just want to see them and not have to miss it just because there is gold in there. And then also, like you said, can we see things that have to do with I don't know, like a champion boxer, right? And then you can see like there is a picture down there where that could be like right in context, right with each other, right? And it's like personal boxer, here is the image for it. Surfer, here is the thing, right? And there's so many things that can be done, whereas like, you know what, I connect with him so much seeing all these images that it feels like it's way too low down on the page. Like he needs to bring those images way up front because they connect the UX writing with him as a person.
Yeah, the writing is great. Like I that's the thing. Like I visually, like you've got big blocks of text on the homepage, and like, but then on here you got 3 big paragraphs, and some people are going to skim right through those. We read through it because that was like we're doing it, but like how many people? I don't know that a lot of hiring managers are really going to like read through 3 paragraphs of text, open everything, look at everything. So how could you make that more visually striking? It is an about page, and like there's I personally really like about pages because I think personality is huge when it comes to especially junior designers, right? I want to see that you're able to learn and grow and I can cultivate you over time. I don't expect you to be a badass right off the bat, right? So that's what I love about pages. I can see that like the past lives are really important because that means a lot of soft skills coming from there, right? That are going to make you a really effective UX designer, assuming you can do the actual work. So is there a better way to show that off, like a timeline maybe, or nodes or something? It might be hard to build that. I don't know, but I could see like a really cool timeline, like especially past lives implies like there's a story there, like figure out how to tell that story a little bit better. I don't know, I'm not sure if this is one of those things like how much time is worth the effort to put in here. I'm not really sure to be honest.
I totally hear you. The way I see it is the content and the writing is 5-star. Like I think that's by far 5-star. The execution is between a 3 and a 4-star for me. So like we all know the pink isn't accessible. There's other small issues like with alignment and proximity. So for example, like the connect with me, that should be left aligned and up closer to the text. It's weird that it's centered there and it's not even entirely centered. It doesn't look like, so there's like small things like that are kind of weird.
It moves when you expand the
Yes, like that's a problem. Then you go to, like, I completely agree with you on the footer feeling of the favorite section. And it's also like I don't actually see the utility. That's fine. I could see that at the bottom, but for example, like coconut water is super far away. I don't know how to pronounce it. Yaki way. I don't know how to pronounce that, but like it's closer to beverage than it is to book, but it's related to book. And so like the proximity of that section feels off. And so like, again, the execution of that isn't quite right. I love all the pictures.
Principles here, Chris.
Yes, exactly.
Check your gestalt.
yeah, exactly. But then the pictures are awesome, and so to your both point, I think it'd be great if you included them with this past lives. I love the past lives section. I think I agree with you. Like you could totally have them out as cards with the accompanying image. to show what it was. But I love that it was there because it really just spoke to him as a person, and him describing his past lives and making it like, this is who I am and who I've, how that's all part of who he is as a person. I think it's amazing. So all in all, I think he's done a great job. I don't think it would take much, again, to turn this into a 5-star because the content is 5.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I would try to figure out how to take the topography from the homepage and break up the big chunks of text into smaller digestible bites using some big bolder topography as like section headers or something. Yeah. And kind of figure that out. I don't know. Again, that homepage with all that stuff he said on the homepage about being passionate and I can't remember exactly, like a lifestyle or adventure sports freak. I didn't see that here unless I just missed it. So like that to me would be stuff that would be perfect here as well, with the big bold text and the big giant hero text. I kind of missed that. I don't know. Kind of felt underwhelming a little bit, but anyway.
No, I think he did a good job overall. He has an ability. It's amazing. Chris, you have an ability to distort reality thanks to your personality. Because it says like a 5-star for personality, and that's the thing that we're going to remember. Is like, do we want to talk to another boring person that keeps saying, "Oh, I'm passionate about helping users," and all that stuff that bores people to death, right? Versus,
I didn't see that anywhere on here actually. That should be in your drinking game. Like, I love helping people or something.
But so his personality is able to transcend almost this lack of connection between the sections. For me, at least, I'm like, I still want to talk to him. I just can't help it.
Yeah. So, Jeremy, what would you give this for a rating?
I feel like the same, man. Like 3.5 to 5, or sorry, 3.5 to 4.
I was like, whoa,
like a 3, going towards 4. Yeah, somewhere in the middle. I feel the same kind of thing. It's like the content's there. It's just like make it pop. I'm sure he's sick of hearing that as a graphic designer. But yeah, I feel like in this case, like it needs a little oomph. The content's great. Keep the content. Don't change the content necessarily, but figure out how to rearrange it and pull out some elements to give it a little bit more oomph, for lack of a better word.
So 3.5 stars, you said?
I think so. Yeah. It's same as the homepage. Yeah, I feel like it's there. It could be there. It needs some love.
I'll do the same. I'm also at 3.5. I really want to give him 5 stars, but I can't.
I know.
I wish I could. 3.5 for me too. Yeah.
I'm gonna go for a solid, and it's entirely based on his personality, because his personality is so good in this. Like, I would say this is by far the best portfolio about page for personality that I've ever seen. I don't think I've seen one that has more personality than this. And that goes for senior designers. That goes for almost anyone that I've seen. Like, Chris, you blew that out of the park. I can't stress that enough.
Wow, incredible!
But the execution, and that's the reason I'm that's so far ahead, which is why I'm giving it a 4. But the execution, that's not quite there. And I swear, if you just brought that up, and just even one small change you could do, hi, hey, howdy, what's up? You have a small paragraph, picture of you on the right, and you break up the sections then below. That would already help make it a lot more digestible, and you get a picture of you, and I think it's so close, so close.
Yeah. Show off that man bun, dude. You got a beautiful man bun, Chris. Show that man bun off, man. I'm jealous. I can never have a man bun like that.
Yeah, me neither. Cool. Well, then let's hop into the next palette cleanser. Jeremy, would you rather work with the world's best product manager and the world's most mediocre developer, or the opposite, the world's most mediocre product manager and the world's most best dev? Sorry,
product manager for sure. 100%.
Why?
I think the product. So I feel like a mediocre engineer is enough to get something built. A mediocre product manager, I feel, adds tons and tons of extra problems and bullshit people have to deal with. Whereas everything before it gets to developer is perfect and great, as perfect as it could be. The mediocre developer can take it and run with it. But if you can't do the other stuff up front, an amazing developer is probably just going to point out all the bullshit and have to go back and start all over again or something. You know what I mean? So I feel like this is a very Hank Shu answer here. But yeah, I need a really great product manager. And if they're not, it just screws up everything. That's my personal opinion.
I love this question because everyone answers it. So it's 50-50, right? But everyone is so convinced about their answers, whether they say one or the other.
No, they just know it off the top of their head. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, I don't know. Product manager all the way, man. I could be partial because my wife's product manager, maybe. I don't know. But
okay.
I don't know.
Totally
I've just
fair.
had some like really good product managers, and I've had bad product managers. And when the product managers are bad, I don't know if it gets worse than that. To be honest.
Yeah, but this isn't necessarily a bad product manager. This is a mediocre.
Just a mediocre one. Oh, I don't know. There's a slippery slope there.
Yeah, there is a slippery slope.
It's a blurry
I definitely
line.
am with you. I hear you on that, and I can see it both ways. It's hard for me to answer that. Like I can, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's
a
hop
mediocre
into the
engineer is bad too. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, but you're right though. They could at least get things done. Like that they'll be able to get things done, and you can work with them to fix it. Like if the other part of the process is messed up to begin with, like it adds so much overhead for the entire process and like getting shit done. So
Yeah. Now, question about this, and is it the case that they're always mediocre forever, or will they improve? Are they willing to improve? Can we train them to be better?
They can't improve. They just
They can improve.
It's-
So I'm
it
still
is
going
a
with
flat line.
okay. In that case, I'm going amazing product manager. My answer stays.
Nice. Cool. Okay, let's hop into that first case study, tip jar, and then Ludwig, want to throw 5 minutes on the clock, and let's all go through it.
A few moments later.
Jeremy, what are your thoughts?
All right. So the first thing I thought was this guy took a page right out of the Kickass UX playbook, writing a case study about something he's deeply, intimately familiar with. I really like that because when he sells this in a hiring manager, in a hiring panel, he could speak to it and actually build that empathy for these people who have this problem. The first thing I thought as I'm scrolling through is he kind of buried the problem statement. Recently, I was looking to purchase a new vehicle, but I realized that my tip-based income made it difficult for lenders to approve me for loans. I would put that right up at the top, like real big. That's the problem statement, right? And right under that, I wonder if other bartenders are facing similar challenges. I almost flip that page around, flip that section around, and put that up at the top. Or maybe even in that right-hand kind of area where he kind of gives a brief overview. A product to help bartenders verify their tip-based income. Why? If you've never worked in the service industry, you probably have no idea why that's important. I waited tables for a long time in bartend, so I know that that's a problem. But most people in this industry may have never done that. So I would try to figure out how to put that up at the top.
And which section is that, Jeremy?
On the black background, right underneath the thumbnail, or the thumbnail on the
this one right
mock-up.
here?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, this one.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, so that second paragraph. Recently, I was looking to purchase blah blah blah. Right, like to me, that would almost be that's a problem statement. Instead of putting the result up at the top, put the problem. Like bartenders can't buy stuff because they don't have credit history because everything's cash. However you reword that, I don't know. But I think that's like build up. Get me hooked. That's like the first thing. Like that's a problem, and we're gonna fix it. Here's how we fixed it. The other thing I would say is scrolling through this, just overall, it feels like another boot camp case study checklist. Everything's on here, right? Like literally everything. I've got competitive analysis. I've got low fidelity, high fidelity, prototypes, this, that, like literally everything. And it's long. It gets really long. A couple things that I like to tell people, I feel like this is something I would encourage Chris to do is instead of having that stuff right there, link to it and have it be somewhere else. And for someone who may want to see it, right? Like the competitive analysis is fine, but what's important is what you got out of that, not the competitive analysis itself. Because a lot of times UX designers are never going to do this. You're probably gonna have a marketing team going out and do this at a lot of companies, right? If you do it at all, you might not even do it. So what's important is the insights, like what did you get out of it? And how does that influence the next decision that you were gonna make? What things did you see that you liked or didn't? And that could just be condensed into maybe a few bullet points or something. Strengths and weaknesses, for instance. Like I don't need to see the images of the other apps. Like you don't need to, that's kind of irrelevant. You could have like I've seen people that have like big spreadsheets and like checklists and everything else. Like if somebody wants to see that, like put it on a hyperlink and send it to another page or an overlay or something to pull it up. I don't think it needs to be there. I like that. I like that they had the strengths and weaknesses there. I think that was really cool. But, I don't know. I don't think it needs to take up so much space because it's already getting kind of long. And then that second part right there, that pink background, that's kind of, to me, what he's getting at is the competitive analysis doesn't verify the income. And that's the problem, right? So like, yeah, I can track my tips fine, but I need to prove to a lender that I have the money and I'm making money and I can pay you back. That's ultimately the problem. And that's what this competitive analysis to me actually says. So as a tip jar product, like one of the big things we need to figure out is how do we verify the income, so that I can actually get a loan. He's got the persona there, just the workaholic. Is that how many people do you actually interview? I don't know. Maybe we should be drinking to that. There's probably
not a lot of I was going to be saying cheers.
Yeah, cheers. There you go. Here, we'll do it now. But, I don't know if it's really necessary. Again, like, this is one of those things, like, if you put that together, just tell me the insights. Like, what does that persona tell you, right? There's those goals and frustrations. That's important. And that should influence the next step when you start to actually putting some things down as a design. But, having a giant section with all this, taking up all this space, 1,000, 2,000 pixels, whatever it is, might not really be as impactful as most people would think. The illustration's cool. I mean, again, like, I actually looked, let me see. I don't think he references Jess anywhere else. So he puts, he does further down, like way further down. He mentioned Jess once, but it's one of those things, like, if you're going to use a persona, like, reuse it. Tell me about Jess and make me feel for Jess. But you were actually selling this problem as your personal problem. Like, this is a problem Chris has. And then we introduced Jess, so it's like, I don't know that it's really necessary. I feel like this is something that he could just sell as like a personal problem that he's trying to solve. And then, I feel like just sort of the standard stuff, like, there's a lot of things in here, wireframe, like low fidelity, high fidelity. Is it really necessary? I don't know that somebody's going to really needs to go through every single iteration that you put on there. Like, if you think it's important, maybe include that in an index or hyperlink to and have it open a modal or something secondary if I do want to see it. But again, I'm not really sure that that's like something that anybody really cares about. The clickable prototype, like, how many people are going to click into that Figma file and click around? It's very linear. I was clicking through it anyway, and it's like I can only click on one thing at a time. I don't know. It's just at that point I'm just like, show me the screens. I don't want to click. I don't know that that's really valuable. Some people might like that if they care about how well he does with Figma, but for me personally, that was just something like I don't feel super impactful. And then the thing that got me, the last one, is developer handoff. Like, to me, what that says is, like, that's not how we do this. Like, your job, and I get it. This is all a pretend application, I'm sure. So, but at that point, like, why even talk about it? You're not actually handing this off to a developer. You don't need to package up the stuff. And in real life, we wouldn't want to do that anyway. We want to collaborate and work together early and often. There shouldn't be a handoff in real life. So anyway, I don't know. That's just kind of my thing. And then the UI kit, like, again, this is sort of one of those things, like, are UX designers really going to be creating UI kits all the time? Is that something somebody wants? Figure out, like, what companies you're trying to go for, and if that's something that they would expect you to do. And if it is, include it. And if it's not, I don't see it adding a ton of value. So
yeah,
anyway,
I kind of with branding a little bit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Background,
yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, why is it even in a UX case study, right? And so it feels like a lot of graphic designers or designers who work with branding a lot love to include this section, but it just takes us out from believing that it's actually a UX designer, just because this is a totally different project. It's more like the design systems team would take care of that. It would already be an established pattern somewhere that exists in Figma already. So there is no need to do this. And by the way, I think that these buttons look like wildly accessible to me, from the white to the green. I'm not even sure if the enabled actually works. I don't know, TBD, but definitely the overstay doesn't. Disabled is fine actually for it not to be accessible, but that's the only one that works here. And I think this might work. But anyway, I agree with you. That takes me out of the UX scope.
Yeah, 100%. I think.
What do you think, Colton?
Yeah, I was gonna say, for me, like, again, Chris, your personality shines through, and I can tell that you're a natural storyteller. Like, the story you're telling in this, and the way that what you're highlighting made it very easy for me to scan this going down, even though it was long. I can tell you have attention to detail there. And again, that's one of the better ones I've seen, especially for a more junior UX designer. Like, I think you've done an excellent job with that. To Jeremy's point, it is kind of everything in the kitchen sink. Like, why did you do this stuff? Like, that's the main thing. And the other piece is, like, at this top section right here, I think alignment's a thing that I think I'd recommend you working on. I'd recommend left aligning all this stuff, not centering it. And then on top of that, like, this could be an overview section that does the overview of the problem, to Jeremy's point, and then also the solution. Because, like, what you're trying to do is you're trying to optimize for hiring managers and recruiters who are coming in, who only have 1 minute max to, like, really scan this and see if you're worth taking to the next round. And right now, you're not allowing for this. Like, this kind of section where you have the role, tools, timeline, skills. What does that actually help with? It doesn't help with much. And I don't recommend anyone have those sections, because it's not that helpful. Instead, what is helpful is what is the problem you're solving? What's the context? What's the problem you're solving? And what's the solution? Like a very short section that has all that stuff. And then you allow people to get into the details. But what I'm missing in this is like the why behind your decisions. Why? You know, how you got to the next thing. Like I can tell that your visual design for UI looks great. Like from what I can tell, like, you know, I looked at your prototype. There's only one small issue I saw with like things jumping around when they shouldn't have. But like, you know, again, as a junior, it's a small detail. It's something that I would recommend fixing. But, you know, I think it wouldn't, again, take that much to get this up in quality. But right now it leaves me with more questions than I have answers, which is a problem. Like you definitely need to have this. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I think I'm like lagging or something behind. But the thing that I worry for Chris here is this, as it stands today, is very visually striking. And as a hiring manager looking for a visual designer, it would probably speak to them. But the question I have is, who is this speaking to? And is that good for you, right? So if you're trying to get a job as a UX designer, you know, even a generalist that does kind of, or even like a T-shaped kind of thing, you're speaking to the wrong audience here. And you're probably not going to impress someone who's looking for a UX designer. You're going to impress someone who's looking for a UI designer. And especially like a low maturity org, if you get a hiring manager who doesn't know to look for those things, you're going to get that guy or woman to reach out. And you're probably not going to be happy at that role, if you're looking for a UX job, right? So again, keep in mind like the audience and like putting this out to the wrong people and sending out the wrong signals. You may not be happy with the job that you get when you get that call back if you're not, you know, putting that UX stuff in there and selling that versus the UI stuff.
But what makes you say that, Jeremy? I'm just very curious here because like most of his thing is all about storytelling. It's mostly text and right. So I love what you say. I would love to hear. You know,
well, I think for me, like it's the why, right? Like we talked about, why did you do those steps? It's just like I did this and this and this and this, and to me, what it says is it's another bootcamp case study almost, right? The checklist. I got to check the list. I need the wireframes, low fidelity, high fidelity, persona, competitive analysis, blah 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 blah, and it doesn't show me that you're actively critically thinking about the activities that you're doing. You're just doing them because you were supposed to, you know? And so it's visually striking, but I feel like one of the things I would be concerned with is a UX person who's like hiring for a UX designer who wants someone to ask really tough questions and, you know, dig deeper and all those other things. It doesn't necessarily do that. The storytelling piece is there and the branding piece and the personality definitely comes through. But, you know, it's to me, like aside from the visual, because there's a lot of people out there, the hiring managers that might not even care about the visual design piece of this. And they're like, well, it looks nice, but there's no substance. You know, not that there's no substance, but you get what I'm saying. Like they might just pass on it because it aside from the visual piece, it's almost like every other bootcamp case study.
I see what you mean now. Yeah, but I feel like it's I feel like Chris overall. I mean, you did a really good job though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't let me say he didn't. Yeah.
It's amazing, right? I mean, I feel like this case study overall. So when I land on the hero section, but I hear what you say, right? Especially with the competitive analysis and the persona. If you do one thing, remove that persona made probably in Midjourney AI, which you highlight here.
Yeah, probably looks like
it. It doesn't help, right? But like when we look at this hero section, at least I'm like, okay, Chris knows his UI design. I'm not gonna have to worry about that. Yeah. It looks clean. You know, a few small little details, but seriously, it would be very picky of me to say. Because overall, this looks great. There is a good hierarchy, good sense of information architecture. So I'm like, okay, I feel like if I keep going, at least I'm not gonna end up with someone who has no clue how to do UI design, which nowadays you cannot be a UX designer that doesn't know its UI, right? So at least I feel comforted in that fact thanks to that without even scrolling anywhere. I think like both of you said, like this doesn't really work super well. It doesn't say much. So let's pull some other data here, but otherwise it would be a pretty good hero section that actually makes me want to scroll and go even deeper, especially considering the history we have with this homepage and with this about page. And we're like, this guy's personality is fun. I want to scroll. So at least he won the book, I would say, right? And then the storytelling, again, is funny in many places. I think you do a good job also of not saying, like here you say research and exploration, sure, but there are places where, like bartender face challenges. This is just saying the problem or the challenges. It's a bit more exciting and more fun in the H1s and H2s. And that's something we don't see that often. Again, like here again, it's a bit boring, right? Competitive analysis, competitors, sure. But defining a product is a bit slightly more interesting. Framing the problem, we don't see that often actually. Colton and I are huge advocates for actually framing the problem and doing it in a way that helps indicate the business objective, the user objective, all that stuff. So it's pretty cool to see. Maybe just one how might we would have been better than 3. But it feels like he has the markers that makes me say, okay, he knows what he's talking about. Slightly green, but at least he knows his UI. His storytelling is good. So yeah, I mean, overall, and again, his wireframes, his low fidelity wireframes are really clean. Again, that reinforces the fact that I'm like, okay, he knows his UI design. He's like 90% there. So yeah, I mean, seriously, I mean, I'm kind of impressed.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think like I'm being nitpicky. I think with a lot of this stuff, and I think it's a great foundation. Like just swap the stuff around, and you're better than like 80% of the portfolios that I've seen out there for sure.
Agreed.
I think one other thing I was going to mention is like it's clear that Chris cares about design, UI design, visual design, branding, and things like that. I think Chris really, you have got to go and find the right companies that you want to work for, because if you go out and find a company that's already got a design system, you're not going to be able to do any of that stuff. You're going to you may feel blocked. I don't know what the right word is. Not creative or whatever. Like you can't explore and do those things. You might feel very restricted. Restricted is the right word. So I would go and make sure you're going out, reaching out to people and stuff, talking to people that work at some of these companies before you apply for the job, or after you apply, but before you accept the offer, to make sure that you would be happy there. Because to what I see here, maybe Chris might be great at like a digital agency, an agency that's actually working on different products every 6 months or something, or every year for different clients, as opposed to in-house designer at an enterprise. He might be bored. So be very sure you're like applying for the right company, because as an enterprise UI or UX designer, you might be bored. So just kind of go and explore those options and see, and make sure that you're able to take your skill set and grow at the right.
I love that. That is such good feedback. So with all that, we were way over as far as our 12 or 13 minutes, whatever you put down.
Oh, sorry.
Jeremy, what would you give this on a scale of 1 to 5?
I'm going to give this one a 4. Because I think the foundation again is there. It is better than a lot of stuff I've seen. I think if you just condense some things, remove some things, added hyperlinks to places, rearrange some things, kept everything visually the same, you would do great, I think. So I'm gonna give this one a 4.
Ludovic.
Yeah, I think if we take the hypothesis that he's a junior, then this is a 4, right? It's like there is a lot of great storytelling. His visual design is good. At least I know that he's not like crazy green. I know that he knows his stuff and he's passionate about it, because his eye for detail shows right away. And so I'm like, okay, he cares, right? And that really comes across. So yeah, I think a 4 also is good, considering if he's a junior designer, right? If he had more years of experience, maybe not. But if he's a junior designer, absolutely a 4.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be a little bit more harsh on this, but with a caveat. I'm going to give him a 3. The caveat is I don't think it'd take much to get to 5. That being like layout changes, because there's definitely some layout issues with the page. Like just general visual fixes across the board for this. So I can tell you as the craft for the actual UI side of his, of the product he worked on. But not entirely for this page. And so I think that needs to be reworked. I think, to your point, Jeremy, condensing down sections, like his storytelling is great, but just making it a little more streamlined, putting the overview section at the top, making it clear that this is a conceptual project. And then because the bottom section almost implies that this got developed, but it didn't. And that feels a little disingenuous. And so I feel like all of those things that we've talked about, if you just went through and fixed those things, this would quickly become a 5, and it'd be really impressive for being a junior designer. So, Chris, I hope that doesn't come off as harsh. I really do think you're close. There's some things to fix, but based on your personality, man, you got this.
One other thing I wanted to throw out there too is the quotes. I love the bartender quotes. I don't see that a lot. Like quotes from actual research. I see a lot of pictures of sticky notes, but I don't see anybody abstracting that out and throwing the quotes there. What I would do is I would take them out of the carousel and I would turn them into cards or something and actually put like 3 or 4 up on in a grid or something and show them that way, as opposed to sticking them in a carousel. But I love that, and that's also part. And so I think you could probably have something like that instead of the persona section, because I don't know how.
100%.
Persona section, yeah.
Oh yeah,
that's unique. I've never seen in a junior designer that kind of quote carousel like that. I like that a lot. I really dig that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think we're done with the portfolio portion, so only a couple more questions for you, Jeremy, before we hop off.
Yeah, man.
So this is the last palate cleanser for you. What's been the best thing about running the Beyond UX podcast?
The best thing about it? All the people I've met, to be perfectly honest. Like, what's funny, I was telling somebody this the other day. I started posting regularly on LinkedIn every day, Monday through Friday. I do Saturday too. Monday through Saturday. And I did it originally very selfishly to get more followers and get more listens and all that crap. But what I found was by posting all the time and commenting on other people's posts, I was meeting really badass people. So like I have met so many amazing people like you guys. I met you, like Hang, Nadia, like Megan, Tom, and all these like people that I would have probably never interacted with before had I not been doing the podcast and trying to get listeners. And it's like now I post because I enjoy it and I like the relationship with all the other people. It's not even about posting for followers. I don't even care about the followers. It's all like, it's that network of people. And, you know, like getting to join Slack communities of people that are like amazing, doing amazing things. I would have never done that before. So yeah, I think that's like for me, the most rewarding part is all the cool people I've met and had conversation with. Friends. I like to think of some of these folks as friends. If I go to Washington, you better believe I'm hollering at you guys.
You better.
Assuming we can get some.
You better. We'll get some beverages, have a good time.
Yeah. Hell yeah, awesome. Some actual instead of this coffee.
Yeah.
But well, for me, that's the biggest thing, man.
Nice. So appreciate that. Well, I completely agree. You know, one of the things that has been something that's been, it's funny, it's a surprise to the same point. Like I started posting on LinkedIn for Kickass UX reasons, but like it's become way more than that. Like I've developed a good group of friends out of that I did not expect. Like a bunch of us who are doing similar things didn't expect it. And I'm 100% with you. It's been so fun getting to know you better and joining you on your podcast.
Sure, yeah, dude. I'd never be here if it wasn't for LinkedIn. Yeah. UX design, man. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I love that. Well, before we sign off, where can people support you? What projects are you working on? Basically, like, what are your plugs?
Yeah, dude. Well, I've got a couple podcasts, Beyond UX Design, where you can find us on beyonduxdesign.com. I've got another podcast called Retro Time, retrotimepodcast.com, which is more software related. And me and my buddy Derek, it's the two of us. We just talk about a random topic every week, you know, and it's more software related. He's a software architect, so he's got a lot of big experience with like the back end stuff, and so we, you know, it's kind of cool. We play off each other and have some interesting conversations. Check that out, retrotimepodcast.com. Obviously, Beyond UX Design. Anybody listening here, they probably have heard at least the episode with you guys on it. We talk about boot camps and stuff. Actually, what did we talk about? I don't even remember what we talked about.
Yeah,
something like that. Whatever.
Yeah,
basically. Design.
Yeah, design. It was a great conversation, regardless. But yeah, beyonduxdesign.com. If you're a junior UX designer or career transitioner, it's all about the other stuff like beyond UX. You know, beyond design. So the tagline is "You're more than a designer because there's more to UX than design," and it's all the soft skill stuff that I think are really important to make you a more effective UX designer. So I think that's really important. So we talk about that. I do some solo episodes, and I also do some interviews, obviously. And we go over all kinds of topics, you know, more soft skill stuff. So beyonduxdesign.com, check that out wherever you listen to podcasts. I post on LinkedIn. That's the only one. That's the only social media site I can do. I can't do anything. I'm not on Twitter, TikTok, or anything else. It's just too much for me. But yeah, find me on LinkedIn. Follow me and all that for some nuggets every day.
Nice.
Fingers crossed.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, cheers. Thank you so much for being here. So appreciate your time, Jeremy, and we'll definitely want to have you on at some point in the future.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks guys for having me. I love you guys are doing this. I love this series. This is awesome, and I was super stoked when you guys asked me to come on. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Jeremy.
I love what you guys are doing. You're doing the Lord's work. So I appreciate you guys.
I don't know. Yeah, we try.